Healthy diet is one of the most important aspects of human health. Many modern diseases are caused by an unhealthy diet. The problem is very simple. Man has chosen to eat the wrong and poisoned foods, and the consequences are the emergence of many diseases that were unknown until 100 years ago. Man is a machine that runs on fuel called plants. So, by its anatomy and physiology, man is an herbivore, in a similar way to other herbivores: cow, goat, sheep. Today, we have corporate farms that are feeding animals with food of animal origin in order to grow them faster. So, we have bone meal of animal origin being fed to herbivores on farms around the world. The consequences are severe animal diseases, such as mad cow disease, etc. Similarly, when a person began to feed primarily on food of animal origin, the number of patients with various diseases rapidly increased. If we look at the shape of human teeth, we will see that it is adapted for crushing and grinding plants, just like other herbivores. Also, the human intestines are very long and the stomach acid is very mild and adapted for digesting plants, just like other herbivores, unlike carnivores that have short bowels and strong stomach acid. The human body is designed so that it can temporarily consume animal products in the absence of plants, but only temporarily and in small quantities. If food consumption of animal origin continues in large quantities, the consequences will be exactly as we see in the developed world: a large number of people suffering from the most serious diseases caused by poisoning. Of course, a plant-based diet can also be dangerous if processed and injected with the harmful chemical substances and additives that are most commonly used to enhance flavor and preserve food. Raw plants are the healthiest food, and therefore, it should be remembered that the best food for humans are plants that are uncooked and unprocessed. It is important to note that plants are the richest source of all nutrients. It is very easy to see that plant foods are in every respect superior to animal ones. This should come as no surprise because plants are the only food producers on planet Earth. Only plants can absorb minerals from the earth, use sunlight in the process of photosynthesis, and thus produce food. That is why it is said that plants are food producers and humans and animals are consumers of food plants. Another issue that needs to be addressed is the one related to vitamin B12, which is necessary for humans in small quantities but is not found in plants. It is present only in foods of animal origin. Vitamin B12 is created by bacteria that exist in the human mouth and intestines, and is not required to be ingested through diet. Research has shown that people in some African and Asian countries, who exclusively feed on plants, do not suffer from anemia and other diseases caused by a deficiency of this vitamin. The benefits of a plant-based diet are particularly pronounced in athletes. Research conducted by a Swedish professor, Per-Olof Åstrandhas, shown that the athletes that are eating a plant-based diet are much more enduring than ones that are eating animal products. He studied 9 highly trained athletes and changed their diet every 3 days. At the end of each 3-day period, each athlete rode his bike at high speed to exhaustion. Athletes on a meat-rich diet became exhausted after about an hour of riding bike. When they were on a mixed diet with less meat, fat and protein, and more vegetable foods, they could ride a bike at high speed almost twice as long. However, on a plant-based diet, they drove nearly 3 times longer before exhaustion occurred. This great improvement in endurance is a familiar feature of herbivores. Horses can run at high speed for hours. Some elephants were reported to have been running for 10 to 12 hours at high speed. On the other hand, carnivores such as cheetahs, tigers, and other animals have good speed at first, but they tend to get tired in a short time, often in less than 5 minutes. We will list 9 simple but important rules that we should stick to in our diet. 1. When we say plant-based diet, we mean fruits, vegetables, cereals and nuts. Mushrooms are not plants. These are saprophytic organisms that mostly live on dead remains. 2. Ideally, a person has 2 or 3 meals a day. The most abundant meal should be breakfast, and the least abundant meal should be dinner. Many people who have good breakfast and lunch have no need for dinner. In case dinner is consumed, it would be desirable to have some fruit for dinner, because it is digested quickly, so that the person goes to sleep with an empty stomach, which is one of the conditions for a quality rest. If a person goes to sleep and the stomach has to digest a heavy evening meal, such a rest will not be as good as the one in the case of an empty stomach. 3. Best method for removing excess weight is to switch to 2 plant meals a day, breakfast and lunch, throw out dinner, and start exercising, gardening, walking, swimming, running, calisthenics. 4. Water, teas and juices are drunk before a meal, and water should not be drunk within an hour after a meal. This is necessary for the stomach to digest food. Drinking fluid during the meal and 1 hour after a meal will dilute the gastric juices and complicate the digestion process. 5. A break of at least 5 hours between meals should be taken, and it is highly advisable not to eat anything between the meals. So, no snacking between meals is desirable. The stomach is a muscle and it needs rest. Only water can be consumed between meals, 1 hour after the last meal. Juices and teas are not recommended between meals, except in case of illness and fasting and juices. 6. Mixing fruits and vegetables should be avoided during meals, as mixing them can lead to bloating and diarrhea. In certain situations, when making juices, it is allowed to mix sour fruits, for example, apples with vegetables, or to mix green vegetables with fruits. 7. Milk and dairy products can be consumed in small quantities in the absence of plant foods. Cow's milk is food for calves, and goat's milk is food for goatlings. Man is the only mammal that consumes milk after a breastfeeding period. It is very difficult for the human body to absorb calcium and other ingredients from cow's milk, but it is very easy to absorb calcium from plants as well as other nutrients. Research shows that most people suffering from osteoporosis, bone thinning, and diabetes are in countries where cow's milk is consumed the most. 8. Eggs can be consumed in small quantities in the absence of plant foods. They are very rich in cholesterol and saturated fat that clog human blood vessels. 9. Honey is a food for bees and is a simple sugar that quickly enters the bloodstream. It has good antibacterial properties but should be consumed in small quantities. Sugars from the plants are complex sugars, which slowly enter the bloodstream, and are much better than simple sugars such as white sugar and honey. To summarize, by switching to a plant-based diet, human health is improved in a very short time and many diseases are rapidly receding. If you liked this video, please click the like button and subscribe.